Okay, as I promised a while ago, I'd show off some of my synthesizers, and I'm going to start down here. This is a little Pioneer synth from about 1973. One of the first ones I built from a company called Paya, still in existence, doesn't make analog synth parts really anymore, not like they used to, but their schematics and everything were all available for all their modules. This was a little baby one with a ribbon controller, and they also made modular synths along the lines of Moog and some other companies that made modular synths. Very similar to what we have today in the resurgence of modular synths. But anyways, 73, they were about one of the first ones I built, and from there I went on to build other synths on my own. At the same time, what spurred all this electronic stuff was Robert Moog and his famous Mini Moog, of which this is my $50 Mini Moog. It's an app that runs from Arturia that runs on an iPad, and this is a keyboard that was designed for a learning piano with an iPod app, but it works as a controller for this Mini Moog. The advantage this has is, unlike the original Mini Moog, which was monophonic, this is polyphonic now. The patch that's on there right now is a synthesized string ensemble, which I used on a couple of songs. But yeah, I always wanted a Mini Moog, couldn't afford one at the time, can't even afford one now, of course. They've never gone down in price, just gone up, very popular, but got basically the same thing here, and it only cost $50. Now, back in the 70s, I'd been building these things when I was in high school, after I got out of high school, and then I got a job as in research and development for an aircraft firm. Moved from there into hydraulic, pneumatic, electrical, what we call now robotic systems. And it was not until the late 80s that I started back into learning about all the new technology and electronics, from these old analogs into digital with MIDI. And in '91 I got my associate's degree from NRI in electronic music technology, and that began my foray into MIDI and digital and computer synthesizers. So on with the tour here. So it's going to be a little jumbled. These are my digital guitars that you've seen before. The Fender Mustang in the back, the Casio MIDI guitar, and the one in the middle there, you can just see the green buttons on it. That's a Casio DG10, a guitar-like controller. And this is a Maestro by Gibson Les Paul with a Roland pickup. So as a Les Paul plays good, don't have to worry about the pickups because I don't even use the pickups on it. It's just being used as a guitar controller for the Roland GR30, which is right here, which is a synthesizer. Now what's interesting is, until I got that DG20, all these synths were keyboards. So I built them, but I couldn't play them. I can't play keyboard for a hoot other than simple melodies or background instruments for fill-in on recordings and things like that. But I'm in no means, never was, and still am not a keyboard player. Never give that. But I do have them. My best friend from my childhood last year gave me a Casio CZ5000. Awesome synth, beautiful keyboard on it, but since it is MIDI controlled, I can use the MIDI guitars to play it. Same thing with this Casio CZ101, which was the first digital synth I had, and that was used in the training to get that degree. It was based on the CZ101 and Atari, forget the model of the computer, Atari ST510 or something like that, which was one of the most affordable computers that had MIDI capabilities and MIDI software. Down here, sorry about the lighting, I'm using an iPhone to record this, is a Yamaha drum machine, which has built-in little drum pads and stuff, but this is also MIDI. You can control MIDI instruments, MIDI drum set with these drum pads. Very affordable way of getting into, if you're a drummer and want to get into MIDI, you can hook this right up through the MIDI controller into a computer, set up a synth drum set, and you have a nice little digital drum set, 4 pads. But it's pretty cool anyways. I'm going to pan over here. This is one of my newer acquisitions. This is an Arturia analog lab, which I use with, that's not plugged in because I have been rearranging stuff, so a lot of this I can't demo, but I'm using Arturia's V5 collection, which is a ton of standalone VST analog synths of all different kinds, Moogs, ARPs, Buchla, etc., etc., etc. And you have buttons and controllers right on this MIDI controller designed especially for the analog lab. Not so much a synth, but for guitar players, non-MIDI, this is technically a MIDI synth. This is the Digitech RP X400. More than just an effects box, does a whole bunch of cool stuff. Some older stuff I have here now. You can see some of it. Oh, this phone is terrible. But I have a Kai MIDI delay and a Kai MIDI sampler and an Akai MIDI arpeggiator. And these are all antiques, but these are have gone up in price, so these will probably go on Reverb for sale pretty soon. As was on my couple of my videos, I mentioned I used FBO1s. I've got two of them here. Those are drumsticks for that drum controller. I've got a pair of FBO1s, and sitting on top of them is a Korg M20 analog synth. This is the mini version. Back in the 80s, I had the full-size version, which I sold. Korg came out with a new MIDI version, which is electronically the same, except instead of big and using 1/4-inch patch cables, this uses 1/8-inch jack cables, which is fortunate because the Moog Werkstatt here has an adapter for on the side to use 1/8-inch patches, so that the Moog and the Korg can work together. Use the Moog as an expansion for the Korg. Over here is a little Chinese or Japanese, I forget which, kind of called a toy synthesizer. It's an SX150 Mark II, which I also use as an expansion module. What's cool about this is this SX150 has a little ribbon controller at the bottom. It is essentially the same thing as this gnome. Oscillator, filters, ADSR, envelope modulator, smaller package, and this is set up with the 1/8-inch patch cords so that you can use this as an expander module. So this right here, the Korg, the Moog, and the SX150 all work together as a single unit. And although this has a keyboard, you can patch not just a MIDI guitar in it. It does have MIDI capability added to it, but you can patch in external instruments and have them control filters so that you can, say, put your guitar through this and have automated filter and auto wah, things like that. Really cool. And then somebody was asking me on one of the chats about a Mellotron. And if you go on the web and look for Synth Studio, they have all kinds of synths. There's my folder showing all their synths that I downloaded. Freebie, MIDI controlled Mellotron, simulated Mellotron. Really cool, free, works just like the original Mellotron. Sounds just like the original Mellotron too. So if you're doing vintage stuff, you want that old Mellotron sound, this is a really cool item to have. It's free, runs on XP up to any Windows, but it's free, MIDI controlled, awesome little beast. Over here is a MIDI module called Sleckfet string synthesizer, which is a standalone synthesizer for all kinds of string effects using MIDI. Down here is my Korg 16-channel sequencer. It is MIDI out, control voltage out, analog or exponential voltage out, because analog systems used a variety of of control voltages from linear to exponential, different volt ranges, and this covers pretty much all of them. And I guess that's about it for my MIDI tour. My ex got me this book for my birthday a few months ago, and for Christmas she got me this cool book, Guitars, Amazing Facts and Trivia. Pretty cool, all about all kinds of unusual and rare guitars, famous guitars. And she also bought me organic guitar picks. Has 3 picks. One's buffalo horn, one is buffalo bone, and the other is coconut shell. And for recording and mixing all these MIDI devices, right now I use this little Behringer 502, which I know people bash Behringer, but that's a nice little mixer. Wouldn't use it for a band, but for an individual or a duet or something, really great, or for mixing a shitload of synths together. And this is my Nady 4-channel stereo mixer, switches between 4 channels of stereo or 8 channels of mono. Pretty neat little box. And I guess that wraps it up for a little explanation of my synths. Hope you all enjoyed it, and take care.